Hey there, it is 5:34 p.m. It's October 27th. It is Monday afternoon, and so I wanted to come on here and make a video. I have just been doing things, to keep myself busy, a little arts and crafts today, and some reading, trying to take it easy and relax before I actually progress further into the week. Now, what was on my mind today is that a couple few things. Some messages were kind of popping around in my head. I do understand that some of the people that were involved in my targeting, and who I'm referring to are these overweight women who were bullying me in different companies throughout the community. They spread their hate campaign throughout the United States. And I addressed this a couple days ago. I do not remember the name of that video. I think it was called, wait a second, Hazardous Waste, okay? Yeah, I do get that feeling that there's a lot of people who are very scared right now. And and for the ones who were creating problems for me, like I said, I don't have any problems, stating how I truly feel about them. I've given people an adequate amount of time to do the right thing. So, my channel has been existing on YouTube since 2015. And since 2015, I made it quite clear that I didn't want to be a part of the network that involved, my siblings as well as the kids from school. The problem with it is that I sense that my sister Lisa had a very compulsive behavior. Anything that you told her to do, she would look at it as a challenge. Okay, some people have this sort of mental issue to where, like, if you say leave me alone, then they feel like, oh, well, then I'm going to keep bothering you because then some sort of weird competition goes in their mind. This is one of the reasons why legally we do have things like restraining orders. Okay, there's some people who really do not understand that you have the right as an adult to back away from family members if you're over the age of 18, and I have every right to do so. Okay, now I do remember back in 2023, I started to come to realize that there were certain people involved. This is like a little bit before I found out about the Prince Alamehu. No, I think I already knew about Prince Alamehu, but I didn't know that wait, yes, I did know I was adopted. I did know I was adopted at that time, I believe. Okay, it doesn't matter. I remember I was going to get a restraining order on my brother Rashawn. Okay, I was going to get a restraining order on my brother Rashawn because I felt as though my employment was being stagnated. And I figured he was a part of it. I was also going to get restraining orders on Bruce. Then my brother made some sort of statement about, oh, well, they're going to take away my guns. Now, this was very, very, selfish on his part because these people were sitting here walking all over my life, right? But he was concerned about him losing his guns, okay? So this is the kind of narcissistic behavior that, was displayed. Now, what if I would have went through with the restraining order? I believe if you put a restraining order on somebody and they happen to be in the state of Arizona, I do believe they remove your guns from you. So he was concerned about his things that he cared about. He didn't want to lose his guns, his precious guns, because, we grew up in a family or household where my dad and my brother hunted. So this was a part of who they are, okay? So he's like, oh, they're going to take my guns, but he was concerned about him, okay? Now, I do understand that I was being like, my behavior was being monitored. These people felt as though I had to explain my stance on my life. Apparently, they were drawing back on, some of the conversations that my sister, Lisa and I had many, 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 many years ago. So they were the kind of people who, if you said something, even though you have the right to say it, and even though you are just minding your own business in your own home, if you're not following their footsteps, they take offense to it. Even though I'm over the age of 18, even though I live way far away from all of my siblings, okay, I do not see them, I do not interact with them. There are some people who really do have a very strange, sick need to control. Now, I do understand that these people, my Lisa, my Rashawn, Tanya, as well as some of these obese people, decided to man my YouTube channel. Okay, they had no right to touch my YouTube channel. They had no right to sit here and use any of my projects. Oh, and the minute I said that, I got this message about there's extreme fear and anxiety that are plaguing these fat women.
A lot of these women blew their brains out, and apparently a lot of these people are dealing with spousal abuse, okay? Because their spouses are ashamed to be associated with them, and I don't really blame them. I really don't. Okay, so anyway, everyone from my past knows that I am not recognizing them, okay? Meaning that it's been too long, and so it makes sense that if I was to hear any sort of apology or somebody was to make contact with me after all of this, okay, it went too long, okay? So, of course, I would reject them. I would definitely reject them. The reason why is because I don't look at you as somebody who has any right to be near me. You've caused me entirely too much trauma. It's like, how could you do that? How could you do that year after year after meet with me, explaining it over and over and over and over again? There's absolutely no excuse for it. Okay, so it was, it's understandable to me that a lot of people around in my surroundings are also starting to realize that it always seems to be a lot of these obese women who tend to cause a lot of the problems. Oh, as a matter of fact, the message I'm getting right now is that I have the support of the United States. I'm sure most people can recall in their memory bank about certain things that they've planned for themselves, and there's always this person who seems to be throwing wrenches in their plans, okay? And you look over, and it's usually this fat person looking like really stupid and sloppy, and they go through all these great lengths to try to ruin your life, okay? In this case, they have been doing things that they have kept me out of work for too long, and like I said, it's spilled over to the affecting my son. Okay, now my son is 32 years old. He lives with his mom. Okay, and I do not see where I'm getting any sort of compensation quick enough. Okay, I am not happy with this group of people. Okay. Anyway, so I do understand that they were siphoning my YouTube channel, and I do believe I made it very clear that the only people who I believe have authorization to that would be people who are in the White House and that sort of stuff. Okay, I can post stuff. They can go ahead and do what they want with it. I do believe they're distributing it responsibly. Okay. Um, Okay, there's a message coming through. Okay, something about I'm getting this intuitive message that I should follow up on jobs. I do need to get it back to work. Okay, I am tired of staying at home. I'm tired of suffering for the irresponsible actions of these fat people. Okay, I am so tired of it. And I know it sounds really mean for me to treat them in such a way. And I've always been very considerate and very compassionate for their struggles, okay? But what has it gotten me for being compassionate towards their struggles, okay? These people wanted to attack me anyway. I hope that they die out in the street. I do not care if their spouse is beating them. I really don't, okay? Because why? Because I'm not saying people should beat their spouses, okay? But I'm going to tell you what. These sort of women, they represent their whole entire families, okay? So they marry into these families and they bring the entire family image down with their stupid behavior, okay? And not only their behavior, it's their appearance, okay? So they certainly don't sit here and teach the kid any sort of, decent skills or anything. So you know what? I mean, I can understand why these men treat them like garbage and beat them, okay? I am not in any way saying it's right, but you know what? I guess I understand. I get it, okay? Anyway, what else am I want to say? Oh yes, I do have an angelic right. This means that I am anointed by God. See, with the Bitcoin confusion, a lot of these people who knew about me throughout the years, they knew that I was a clone, and they also knew that I was a clone of CB Braganza. They probably also knew or heard the name King Solomon. King Solomon is one of the big key figures in the Bible. Okay, so these religions wanted to do is they wanted to bring back what they called great people, and they wanted us to be converted to their religion. Okay, which seems ridiculous. Okay, it seems ridiculous seeing as how we're the ones. Some of us created religion. Like I would say I'm a huge contributor to religion. I would say. You know what? I would say I am the shebang of religion. I'm the shebang of religion, okay? I can tell many religions built their ideas around me. And so what they try to do is, want you to be very closely aligned with churches, not because there's something wrong with you, but mainly so that they could have control over you. Okay, they want to isolate you. This is one of their manipulative tactics. So, what goes on in these sort of churches, a lot of people, their members, end up getting negative opinions of people. I will tell you, I have never done anything that has offended God.
Okay, I have not done anything to offend God, but what I've dealt with was the hatred of individuals within the church system. And see, this is exactly what has happened to not just me, a lot of people. Okay, but throughout my course of being a part of the Gordon family, which I find it funny because I don't even think my sister Lisa fully understood certain characters in the Bible. Okay, like she obviously knew that C.B. Braganza had some sort of supernatural power. Okay, yeah, he knew that. She knew that he had some sort of supernatural power, right? But see, the church was convinced that because I was not, I'm naturally going to refuse what the church is going to offer. You know why? Because I recognize it as a man-made, inferior form of spirituality, something that I feel is beneath me to attempt to worship in that manner, because I look at the product that it creates. Okay, you get a lot of liars, a lot of people who do the same sort of gang stalking tactics. If like for example, we have these women who, including my Lisa Hughes, who was my former sister, who if they really had what they call Christian principles, and if they came to the understanding that they were jealous or they felt some sort of way about a negative way, then they should have prayed about it, right? And they should have corrected their error instead of letting it escalate to this. Yes, your behavior has everything to do with your relationship with the divine, okay? And I understand because people are just men, they are open to making mistakes, open to becoming greedy, open to becoming envious, open to becoming competitive, and open to being completely taken off of their original purpose and plan, okay? So that means if you see a preacher, a pastor, some member of the clergy, right, who may have came into the church with good intentions, they very well grow corrupt and crooked. And there's a lot of them. I mean, there is a lot of people who I'm sure in the beginning, like I said, they might have had a special feeling for God, a special calling to be a part of some sort of, service or whatever, but they went bad. And it can easily go bad because one thing I have noticed in life is power is wicked. Okay, money can be wicked, all of these sort of things. And when people start thinking that they are too important, they're going to get cutthroat. They're going to get cutthroat. And that's a very common trait in man. Okay, it's typical in man. Unless, of course, you understand how you should see things so that you can prevent yourself from sinking into that way of thinking. So, a couple of days ago I talked about, me being frustrated because I understand that this particular cabal decided to go into different places, like, for example, the state offices. They were trying to prevent me from promoting my project on autodidacts and whatever. I need this dust to settle, okay? I did make this announcement, and I know that a lot of people are losing their state jobs, and I am tired of this, and hopefully these fat people are going to be replaced in these offices. Because I want to do something with the rest of my life, and I feel as though I have, I should have some sort of way of contributing. The intuitive message I'm getting is that I was meant to, guide humanity, as much as I have in my past life. Now, there's a lot of people who are wondering, what are my origins? My original origins is that I was a human being here on the planet Earth. I was one of the first human beings on Earth, okay? Like I said, the Bible is written about my life and all my incarnations, okay? I highly suspect, I have not done a reading on it, but I highly suspect I must have been Noah, okay, as well as, King Solomon and all these other these figures. And this is one of the reasons why let's be real, the Masons wrote the Bible. We all know that the Masons took a bunch of different sacred writings, including mine. I have 3 books that were written in my time through my past lives that are known to be contributed to the Bible. And there's different books from other people, from their perspective, that are combined with the Bible. And when you do the information and the fact checking, yes, Masons are responsible for it. So if they looked at me as the savior, okay, then I am the savior. I'm the savior, okay? Yes, we are not, and the story is different. It's not what you thought it was like, and it is what it is. Okay, as plus, I would say the cloning facilities have the ability to change and determine your sex. Okay, so I'm a woman this time. Okay, so anyway, I had to figure it out. And a lot of people do come to figure it out through what they call an awakening process, and that is exactly what I have. Okay, so what else am I going to talk about? Okay, yeah, the message I got is that these fat women are either dead or docile. That's good. They needed to stop their mess, okay? Like I said, there is no excuse for what they did.
I was right to deem these people wicked. If you knew that I've been making these videos for the last 10 years, since 2015, providing legal information, and I understand that my sister may have gotten some sort of fraudulent power of attorney. It is fraudulent, okay? It is not real, okay? I am over the age of 18, and I am able to do business for myself, okay? What other message do I want to say? Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of intense fear with these women. A lot of intense fear. But this is what divine judgment is. And it's good that these people who can hear this video before they actually do die, they need to understand that I truly am a child of God. Okay? So that God directly has deemed you wicked. And that is your fate. And that is what you deserve. I'm glad that I get the support of the United States. I understand that for many years people have said things about me, and people believed things about me, and people were misunderstood about me. And I understand there was a lot of pressure for me to change who I am. Let me tell you something. It's not that I wasn't trying to change or be who I was because my family was trying to put pressure on me, because I didn't know it was really them behind it. I just started figuring all of this. It took me years to figure out exactly where is all this coming from, okay? But this is who I have always been. These are my beliefs. They're my beliefs, okay? And what people need to understand is that they need to start respecting other people's belief and their spaces. Okay? Believe people the first time. It is not your responsibility to try to change people and what they believe. You know what I mean? And this is where the big tragedy ended up, And I know that my sister, it was not a moral issue, okay? The fact is that my sister felt inadequate. My sister felt inadequate, okay? But obviously, the thing is, my sister, Lisa Gordon, is not my sister. This is what needs to be understood. She is not my sister. She is not, I'm a clone, and I'm adopted. Okay, so I have forgotten and do not listen or think of my sister as my sister. Okay. Something about my. Okay, I'm glad to say that my reputation is clean, meaning like I didn't deserve any of the garbage that I got. I would like to get back to work as soon as possible. I'm tired of having to deal with this. I understand a lot's going on right now in the town, even though I don't have like full on scope of everything that's going on. I do know that there's a lot of stuff going on as far as the state of California is going on. I do know that the authorities have been alerted to this issue. It's a scandal. It's a scandal. You know why it's a scandal? Because this went on too long, and they knew it was wrong. It's not like when these people get arrested and stuff like that, they can't sit there and say they didn't know. Okay, because if the authorities were going to sit there and press them, they would say, okay, well, this is your position. Okay, shouldn't you be responsible for your position? If you have a position of human resources, you work in an office, you're representing the company, and you create this sort of workplace violation, that's right there. You can't say, oh, I didn't know. You didn't know. And according to the law, just because you don't know is not an excuse to not be penalized, okay? You cannot sit here and say, I didn't know, and expect to not be penalized, okay? Because, what it is the state of California produces several different methods of people being able to have access to this information. It is public information. Yes, the state of California expects people, its citizens, the residents of California, to be fully engaged in this sort of information, meaning they expect you to know how to behave. They expect you to know how to behave. So this is one of the reasons why they cannot sit here and claim ignorance. Even if I didn't make all of those videos for the last 10 years, okay? They can't sit there and claim ignorance, okay? And aside from that, you know what? They should know, at the minimum, that you do not touch things that do not belong to you, okay? So this is one of the reasons why I am, like, really on fire about my education for the workplace. And yes, I'm interested in workplace education. You know what I mean? And so, I wanted to, get back with my job search. I'm constantly reaching in or letting people know. I'm getting this message right now. Something about the politicians and the Masons regarding me as a savior or something like that. Okay. Anyway, yeah, I need to get back to work, okay? And I'm tired of the dealing with, you know, my son being put. I'm hoping to work in an environment, possibly by myself. If I can't work with other people, I'd rather be by myself, okay? Because I really don't want to have to deal with the unprofessional. But one thing is for sure: do I believe the community owes me back? Yes, the community owes. They owe me. They owe me. They owe me big time. You know why? Because what they were participating in something that should have never happened in the first place. I am never going to be able to go to a court of law and get the compensation that I deserve, which I do. I deserve that. Okay, so I'd appreciate if there will be no more obstructions when it comes to dealing with my work search. Is there something else I want to say? Something about my art? Yes, people talk about my art. Okay, I am not an artist, and I do not. I find it offensive, okay? So if people want to create arguments with me and refer to me as an artist, I can already tell I want nothing to do with you. I mean, I honestly, I understand that my family, including my extended relatives, you know, they included like my cousins, and some of these people I've never even met before, okay? Something is seriously wrong with them. Just by the duration of the time that they put into all of this. Do I believe that they are responsible for I do believe that they said that they had some sort of power of attorney. They have no power of attorney over me. Do I believe that they had something to do with this issue with the food stamps, the SNAP thing? Yes, I do believe that they are completely responsible, which I think is evil. You know why? Because they want to be so petty that they're willing to make other people suffer. They are evil people, okay? Anyway, I think that's it. Everyone knows from my past knows that I am not recognizing them, and I'm glad, okay? Because like I said, the only thing the memory of these people can do is invoke trigger. I mean, invoke some sort of fear, anxiety. I am terrified of somebody who would do what they did. I would never be able to trust them. I'm very grateful that the Masons do support me. And I think that's it. Something about my art. I am not an artist, okay? So the Masonic people need to understand I do not accept being looked upon as an artist, okay? I find it extremely offensive, okay? They do like my quarterly newsletter, okay? I am not here to be making other people comfortable and people needing to see me as an artist. Is that right there? If somebody has to reduce me in their eyes so that they could be my friend, then they're not my friend, okay? I am an intellectual person, and I will not have anybody else see me any other way, address me any other way, or treat me any other way. Okay? Any sort of disrespect, I will address it immediately. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video, and I will be back with another video sometime later. Take care. Bye-bye.